Welcome to episode 500. No, not 500, almost 500, but 454 of Get Paid for Your Pet. Today, we are talking about email marketing tips for Airbnb hosts that you can use to drive direct bookings. And I have two specialists on the show that are going to share their wisdom with you. We have Afar Kolker, the founder of StayFi. He's been on the podcast before. So welcome to the show, Afar. And we have Ryan Austin. He's the co-founder of Switchback Email, and they provide email services for short-term rental hosts. And so super excited, Ryan, welcome to the show. Super excited to dive into this. It's an important topic as people and hosts all around the world want to be less dependent on the OTAs like Airbnb, VRBO and stuff. So very important topic. Welcome to the show, guys.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Sweet. So, Afar, let's start with you. You're the founder of StayFi. We've had you on the podcast before. Can you explain quickly what StayFi does for hosts?
Yeah. So just a little history. Like Ryan, I came into the space doing digital marketing for short-term rental companies, and we saw the biggest gap in driving repeat bookings, as it was very hard to capture guest data, especially data from the non-booking guests who are staying in the short-term rental. So we developed a captive Wi-Fi system similar to what you've used in a hotel or airport or Starbucks, where every guest has to log in through a captive splash page with your branding in order to access the Wi-Fi. So it's definitely our main product, is to help hosts capture emails from everybody staying in the short-term rental property.
Awesome. Ryan, could you tell us a little bit more about Switchback Email?
Yeah, Switchback Email was founded last year, but we've been doing email for a group that has about 20 years of experience with email marketing in the short-term rental. It's more of the kind of advanced email marketing features, directly connect with StayFi. Our biggest thing there is to push the brand through automation and more direct bookings through automation, and then grow an organic list through the guests and not just people booking. So with drip type campaigns and location-based emails, you can then offer a better experience through email for the guests that are staying in each location.
Awesome. And, email marketing is a really powerful tool to drive direct bookings. A lot of hosts that I talk to, they would tell me, like, isn't that a bit like old school email? It's not so sexy. It's like there's all these other things, all these communication channels now. But, email, in my opinion, is still the biggest, the most efficient way to market to people. Would you guys agree with that?
Very much so. A couple of years ago, the whole term of email is dead, and it's definitely not. If anything, it is probably the best way to get in front of your past guests. It's a personal touch too, so it's not social media. And then, doing email marketing the right way is really important. So make sure you follow GDPR and different kind of spam laws to get permission-based email, but it really can be one of the highest ROIs through any digital marketing. So we love email, of course, but the big focus too is to show the return and show the experience and then tweak it as you go. So I think that's one thing I love with email is different A/B testing, watching how people engage with emails, and then make corrections through the experience, not just for your guests, but for you through reporting as well. So love email.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing you mentioned is like, and we'll dive into the tools that you can use to send out these emails. Because when I talk to hosts about emails, they imagine that they have to sit behind their computer and like write this email every single day, but fortunately, that's not exactly how it works. But there's a lot of data that you can take using, a tool like Mailchimp. I know there's a lot of other tools as well, but you can see like who opened the email, who clicked on the link. So there's just this is a lot of information that you can get from those tools. But let's start. Let's start at the beginning. Like, why we've kind of covered why should we market to our past guests, and After, you made a great comment around like you want to capture the emails of everybody that stays in your units, right? Airbnb doesn't give you the email; they only give you a phone number, right? That's it. But then also I noticed that even that phone number, it used to be the case that you could look up the phone numbers of your guests from like 5 years ago. Now they disappear after a couple of weeks. So now it's even more important to capture that phone number, also capture the email. But Airbnb only gives you the phone number. So if you want to collect that and use that to get the email later, then you have to be fast because it's gonna disappear. But let's touch on like what's the best way to collect these emails? And I guess Afar, you're the expert on this, so I'll pass that on to you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we offer in my opinion, the best solution for capturing emails from guests during the stay, which is obviously super important because those folks are the most likely to rebook that property. And we see that even with really large property managers, they may have over 100, they may have hundreds of properties. Guests typically, if they love the cabin or the vacation home or the condo, whatever it happens to be, they often want to stay at the same place again. And so you just want to, capturing their emails is how we can divert them from coming through an OTA and then through your own channel where you can obviously own the experience, pay less fees, and develop like a deeper connection with the guest, at any size of like whether you're managing your own properties. And then outside of in-stay, obviously, if building a brand is really important, then your website is going to be your kind of most important showpiece for your brand. And there's a lot of great examples of hosts who are collecting emails on their website because, maybe they're driving traffic there through paid ads, through search. It extends the value of all those ads if when they hit your website, you're also collecting their email through a pop-up or a giveaway or a guidebook, some sort of exchange where in exchange for subscribing, they're giving you your email. So I think, obviously we focus a lot on in-home, but there's opportunities on websites through social media to also do email capture for prospective guests as well.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And what are some other ways to collect the emails, and how does that compare to collecting the emails through StayFi? Like, what are some of the advantages that you offer through StayFi compared to alternative collection methods?
Yeah, so StayFi is obviously in stay while they're there. We're having them engage with your brand. And most of the time, I'd say if they book through an OTA, they're unaware of your brand. They only know you as an Airbnb or a Vrbo. They don't know you as XYZ property company. So on the splash page, not only are you collecting email, you're introducing your brand and yourself as a host. And then obviously through an email tool, you want to trigger an automated email after they log in, again, welcoming to the brand, offering. I think a key thing is this is your opportunity to offer, like, if you do have any services or things you like to sell or any add-ons or extend stays, when you automate an email to them while they're there, this is an opportunity to sell all those extra services or products that you may offer during the stay, which is different than when you collect an email on your website, because that's purely just somebody who's probably looking to book and is checking out your properties versus somebody in stay, and you want to craft different ways to manage how you kind of nurture those, in one case leads, the other one being existing guests. So definitely different approaches depending on where you're sourcing these emails from.
Yeah. And Ryan, you touched on this. It's important to be legal, right? To follow the rules. There's you can't just take somebody's email and start sending them emails, right? You gotta have their permission. Can you touch on that a little bit more? Like what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, the best way is a checkbox. Arthur and StayFi offers that through their software to have people give consent to email marketing. Through what Arthur touched on this with websites, even contact forms, adding a simple checkbox, and if they check it, they go to a list. If not, they don't. We're still a big fan, and we integrate with multiple different types of web solutions. So even if they fill out a contact form, you still legally can confirm that inquiry with an email. And then with some dynamic content, if they don't subscribe, you can ask them to or not. But it's mainly permission-based through forms, pop-ups, or the StayFi. And then, validating those emails is a big part of StayFi as well. So it's a process, but, it's also sending the right message to the subscriber or just an inquiry as well.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about the tools that we can use, right? So we collect the email, we make sure we get the permission of the guests, right, to send emails. Now, the next question that comes up is like, okay, how you talked about automation, like how do we actually automatically send emails to our past guests?
This is where I get really excited of partnering with StayFi. It's all the data that is sent through there. It's not just a name and an email. I get the day they join. It's a big one. So you can start to automate based on a date range, 5 days after, 7 days, and you can do a drip campaign based on the date. Arthur also passes a property group and a property name. So grabbing the data and being able to give that guest experience based on where they're staying and what unit they're staying, you can start to get really advanced. It's all driven, what we're talking about here is really driven through an automation tool. Switchback email is built on a ESP, email software provider called Campaign Monitor. So it does have a little more advanced features than Mailchimp, but still any ESP that StayFi connects to email software, you can pull off a lot of this automation stuff. So partnering with Switchback, we do have kind of out of the box templates and help you kind of get everything set up so you wouldn't have to worry about the dynamic content, the right data, the right segments. And what we do work with property management companies is the content itself. So we encourage kind of a guest guide, a nice splash page after they log in through StayFi. And then with email, you link back to all that. So again, it's giving the brand and mainly the guest experience through your brand and email.
How often should we be emailing our past guests? Is that like once a week or once a month?
Not only new clients, but every time we have a quarterly or monthly review with clients that comes up, how often should we be sending? There's so many variables. One of the big ones would be how big is your list? If it's only 500 people, you don't want to keep hammering that. Our take at Switchback on general email marketing is one good email to everybody and be consistent with that. So if you can do that on the same day, the first week of the month, something like that, you start to build a consistent habit on your recipients, and they'll start to watch for your monthly newsletter, if you want to call it that. From there, we encourage at least maybe one a month after that, but not to everybody. So really kind of give a very targeted email experience based on the data you collect. Something as easy as only send it to the people who engage on your newsletters, so not everybody. So different ways of kind of nurturing. We also encourage on the nurturing side, having your newsletter more kind of fun, educational of your area, of your brand. And then maybe your targeted email could be more of a sales approach. So really given, again, it's that guest experience that we're after of not just heavy sales by now. So giving educational, inspirational type email marketing. But yeah, we like one a month and then a targeted ones throughout the month.
Yeah. And that's a good point that you raised. So for example, our newest property that Eric and I bought, we have 4 different cabins, and we're setting up our email marketing as we speak. And one thing I was thinking about is it's a really good way to fill up gaps, right? So for example, we have a number of units. One of our units is schoolhouse. Just to give an example, it's called the schoolhouse, right? So if we have a gap, let's say we have 2 nights that are open Tuesday through Thursday, there's not, typically not a lot of people book those days. So we could then send out an email to only the guests that have stayed at the schoolhouse before and say like, hey, you stayed at the schoolhouse. We know you really enjoyed that experience. We have, a special promotion. There's if you want to stay Tuesday through Thursday, we'll give you, 40% off or something like that. And then we could also send an email to everybody who stayed at one of the other cabins, but we can change that email up a bit and say like, hey, you stayed at the Mill House, which is one of our other units. But we'd love for you to try out our schoolhouse. So we want to give you 40% off if you want to stay Tuesday through Thursday. So I like that idea of really customizing the emails based on, where people actually stayed at which unit.
Your data is key. Any property management software you can get data from is gold to us, and it drives different types of email marketing. So what you're talking about is the cross marketing. That's a big win for us to be able to cross market all the rentals versus where you stayed. Working with other clients, seasonality is a really big one. The time you make your reservation versus the time you arrive. So if you brought children, your rent value, so much data you can use to get more of a targeted experience through email. But yeah, it's thoughtful email, not just blast out to everybody. Use your data and segment as much as you can.
So I guess sending out promotions and discounts, like we were thinking of also kind of it's calling this list like the VIP guest list or something, like where we tell people like, hey, give us your email and we'll put you on the VIP list and we'll give you, we'll give you special rates and stuff like that. But that's kind of one category of type of emails that you can send, like promotions / discounts. What are some other content categories? Because the thing is, like, people, I think the biggest challenge for people who are starting out with email marketing is coming up with ideas of what to write about. So I think it's useful to have some categories that you can just look at and pick a category that you want to write about.
Also a very heavy topic every time we get engaged with a new client, and every month really it comes up. What do we say this month? So the way we approach that is a kind of a tag team approach with the property management company itself. They're experts in their area. They know their guests. They know what drives them, but make it easy on them. Maybe it's a blog post that you have, but really it's everybody loves to go on vacation. So if your email is fun and engaging and not too salesy, then people want to engage with the email regardless if they're showing up this summer or next winter. It's the email's inspiration that you get in your inbox that has the vacation information. So the other way I explain that is through education of time of year, things to do, even your company itself. Maybe you offer an experience that they didn't know. So I love the kind of storytelling, the brand storytelling, the location-based storytelling, and then don't skip featuring rentals. You'll see through email marketing that your rentals can actually, or more likely, will be your highest clicked every time. So give them fun, inspirational stuff, but still soft sell if you can. And then what we would, with your segmented one, doesn't hurt to be, hey, here's a new listing, or we have an open gap, and that's all your email is. So certainly, do your marketing, but also do your direct booking kind of email marketing there as well.
Yeah. Do you guys have any type of data on like how much extra revenue or how many additional bookings this whole strategy kind of delivers?
That's an important piece to this whole puzzle. What is my ROI and how do we track that? So Google Analytics, obviously, make sure you have e-commerce set up. That's a big one. We'll set up some reports for you, whether it's directly through Google Analytics. We're a big fan of Data Studio. But revenue is one ROI. There's another big side of ROI of brand recognition. So just seeing the amount of traffic to your website, that is an ROI. Getting contact forms refilled out, that's an ROI. Open rates, because they constantly see your brand and engage with your emails. So of course, I love to see revenue and transactions. And if you got it set up correctly, we'll be able to track it by per email and per rental that's booked, and be able to attribute a real spend on dollar with email. So we look at it as two ways of reporting and seeing that. There's the inbox engagement and the website engagement. And then we'll report on both of that. And then our biggest thing is, we always say, don't assume what should go in your email. Watch your reporting, watch the engagements, and rework your emails over time, especially your automation emails. Those can be really some of the most important ones, but if you're not constantly checking them, checking your reports, your content can get stale and you're missing an opportunity to make that content better.
Yeah, so I guess there's kind of two type of emails, right? Like there's the automated ones that you touched on before, where it's like maybe one day after checkout, you want to send an email to just thank the guest for staying, let them know that you have a direct booking website where they can always book their stay in the future, give them a discount code. Maybe a week later, you send them another automated email that then at some point you want to, just like you said, like every month you send a separate email that goes out to like everybody that's not related to when they stayed at the unit.
Correct. And there's almost a third one where it confirms an action maybe on a website. It is automation, but it's more of a direct email confirming an action. But yes, automation and basically classic email marketing where you're sending to a group with a single send button. Where it really comes into play is a conversation with the client itself, understanding their business, how big, how small. Do you offer a promo code? You know, another really big one with automation and following up based on that date you get from StayFi. So you get a login date, you can then automate an email. And a big one is to drive online reviews as well. And then your approach on online reviews is just a survey to understand, you know, that you could give back to your homeowners and say the sofa's out of date, or is it really driving like Google reviews? And we'll have different tactics to know, to help you guide the most positive reviews versus just getting a feedback survey. So that's another content piece we love through automation. But
Sure.
You're right. There's basically two types of email if you look at it that way.
Afra, you mentioned to me that you guys connect to a lot of email autoresponders, and autoresponder is essentially a piece of software where you keep it's like a customer relationship management software, I guess, but you can use it to keep your contacts and, you know, send these emails. You know, Brian, you mentioned Mailchimp. Mailchimp is one that a lot of people use because it's free. Obviously, there's not as many functionalities as, you know, some other systems, but that's why a lot of people start with Mailchimp. And offer, like, when people get the emails, collect the emails through StayFi, do those contacts automatically go into these customer relationship management softwares?
Yeah, so I mean, we integrate with a lot of different software, and Mailchimp is the most popular in our industry, but we see Campaign Monitor, Constant Contact, Active Campaign. Some people have even like set up a HubSpot or Salesforce or like an even more robust CRM to handle their guest data, which is, you know, probably a more advanced approach, I would say, because they're collecting other information about the guests in that kind of system too. But we integrate with a ton of systems and we'll send the data there. We also do something on our splash pages is we integrate with another service called Zero Bounce. So we actually validate that emails are real emails before we let guests go through the splash page. Someone enters a spam trap or a fake email, it will actually deny them access to the internet until they enter a real valid email. And that way, all the emails we send to Mailchimp don't bounce, because if you have high, or any other system, because if you have high bounce rates, your email account will probably get flagged or eventually shut down. So we definitely want to protect our users from collecting spam emails before we send it off to a whole plethora of tools. And like you mentioned, basically every email service provider has some level of automation ability to set up drip campaigns, automation. They may call it something else, but they're all, you know, essentially the similar functionality there.
What are some, if someone's listening to this and let's say someone's not collecting any emails, they're not doing any email marketing, you know, they're listening to this and we touched on a lot of different things and it might feel a little overwhelming of like, I need to do all these things and sign up for all these softwares. And what are some like what's like a good sort of like easy way to get into email marketing? I'll ask this to both of you.
Yeah, I would say I would start with setting up automation, whether you're collecting emails through StayFi or simply collecting emails on your website or pulling emails from your PMS, which you might not have permission to use for email marketing. So that's something to keep in mind, that just like go into your PMS and pull out 1,000 emails that you collected there over like the last 3 years. Because if they're old emails, you know, people are highly likely to mark them as spam or unsubscribe if they've never actually opted into your email marketing program. So that's definitely a mistake I see people make. So just one caution there. But I think automation is the best way to start, because you can invest time or hire someone like Ryan to create 5 great emails that get sent to all the guests that stay with you or everyone who logs or enters email on your website. And then you can layer in newsletters. And then, you know, finally, those more advanced, like segmented emails, that's not really going to come into play until you have more data, right? So that's how I look at kind of the steps to getting started.
Yeah, I like that. Keep it simple in the beginning. And having some basic setup is better than having nothing, right? So I like that. Ryan, any thoughts on that?
I agree with Arthur. You know, one of the best way to kind of just kick off email and not put a ton of effort in the long term is automation. Once it's set up, you kind of sit back and let it do its thing. You'll also see automated emails get some of the highest open rates because they are more real-time type emails. As people engage, they get into an automated series, to where Arthur was saying, if you export and import or connect a PMS to an email software, those might not be as timely. And we will coach clients on the best approach. If you want to export, 3 years of past guests, there is a correct way of going about that. And we'll coach you on that and walk you through kind of the switchback approach of how to do a new kicking off email marketing for the first time. And then that's where we come into play. It's just consulting and helping do the things the right way. But just to get started, it's simple automation, whether it's through StayFi, your PMS, or even just your website, and then keep them engaged with ongoing email from there.
Sure. Awesome. So we're getting to the end of the podcast. I want to give you guys both the opportunity. Number one is there something that we haven't talked about that we definitely need to talk about? And then number two is where can people find information and how can they sign up for their services?
Yeah, I mean, I think we covered kind of all the main topics. So, definitely just getting started with selecting an email tool or reaching out to Ryan or another consultant to kind of learn about what next steps you can take depending on kind of the size and where you are and your experience level. At least for StayFi, if you're interested in using our service, it's a self-service tool. So you can have one property, you can have 500 properties. We cover kind of the gamut of all sizes, and we work all over the world. So you just go to stayfi.com, use code PAD, PAD, when you sign up for 50% off your first 3 months. And then there's instructions for how to get started in setting up StayFi, no matter where you operate in the world.
Awesome. Ryan?
Yeah, we covered a lot today. I can sit here for hours and talk email marketing. There's so much little detail once you get past kind of the easy setups, but yeah, we covered, the main points of email marketing and how to get started and why it's so important. It's kind of the best way to get your brand recognition and keep guests engaged with you. For Switchback, we do offer, email software where you can run your own. We can help you get set up. We can manage your email marketing for you. With StayFi, we are running a promo for StayFi guests or clients that can get basically a free setup based on your ongoing engagement with Switchback email. Always happy to chat email, see where you're at, where you need to go, and if it's a right fit. Switchbackemail.com, or we'll have a StayFi promotion page as well.
And you mentioned that if people sign up for StayFi, and as Arthur mentioned, if you use our discount code PAD, you get 50% off the first 3 months. But then if you sign up with Switchback email, you are waiving the setup fee. Correct?
Correct, the setup fee. So I'll have an introduction call with anybody and then understand, are you 5 properties? Are you 100 properties? What does that look like as a setup? Whatever we do agree on the setup, it is completely waived. The way we're looking at that is it's a long-term engagement with email marketing. We want you to be committed, and so will we. So to get it all set up, there is a talk of what engagement on a monthly basis looks like, or maybe you are just getting started and you just need a 6-month buffer just to start collecting and doing automation, and we can revisit it after a few months. But either way, we're helping people get set up with email marketing professionally and take that kind of load or workload off.
Awesome. I think that's the best thing is people are so busy and they have, constraints on human capital or resources. So, I mean, that's definitely our number one goal is always to make our customers have to do less work in this area, not more. So,
yeah. I mean, being an Airbnb host,
free training.
It's we as a host, like you have a lot of stuff to do, right? It's like Airbnb and short rentals. It's a 24-hour business, so any time you can save and put in systems. I mean, that's all what we all talk about on this podcast all the time, especially with our Legends X program. It's systems, it's delegating, automation. So I think this is really important right now. Like if we think about the next 2 years, next 2 to 5 years, or even longer term, like who are going to be the hosts that are going to be outperforming. And we strongly believe that building your brand is something that's going to be really, really important. It's going to drive a lot of bookings, a lot of revenue as the industry matures, right? So doing email marketing, in my opinion, is really important. I love the partnership that you guys have, where you have you're offering a way to collect the emails, and not just the emails of the bookers, but multiple, or all the guests, or maybe almost all the guests, because everyone wants to log into the Wi-Fi, right? These days, there's no one who's like, no, I don't need Wi-Fi. So that, I think that's really awesome. The connection, the how it's connected to the email autoresponder, and then having you, Ryan, with the support on actually creating the content and getting everything set up, because it requires a little bit of technical savviness, I guess, to set up these systems and stuff. So yeah, I think that's an awesome partnership. So thank you guys so much for coming on the show, and really awesome to hear all the tips. And I agree with you, Ryan. We could probably spend another 2 hours. I write a lot of emails myself, so I love chatting about that too. But yeah, maybe we'll have you guys back on the podcast another day.
Thank you. Thanks, Jasper.
Thanks, guys, and thanks to the listeners. And of course, on Friday, Eric and I will be back with a SDR Conversations episode, and then next Monday I'll be back as well with another episode. So thank you for listening, and see you next time.